You already know about the darkness. The polar night, weeks in the far north when the sun never rises, when children walk to school in the black and come home in the black, when winter is one long dusk that never quite becomes day. It's the famous half of life at the top of the world. But nobody talks about what happens 6 months later, when the exact opposite arrives. Because there is a stretch of the Arctic summer when the sun does something that should be impossible. It refuses to set. Not a long golden evening, not a bright twilight that fades around midnight. The sun sinks toward the horizon, and then it stops, hangs there, slides sideways, and climbs back up. At 2 in the morning, it is broad daylight. At 3, at 4, daylight. For weeks on end, the night simply does not come. And that leaves your body with a question it was never, in 300,000 years, built to answer. How do you fall asleep when it's noon bright at 3 a.m.? The people who live up there have an answer. And it reveals something genuinely unsettling about what the rest of us are doing to ourselves, all year round, without even noticing. First, the scale of it, because it's easy to underestimate. Anywhere north of the Arctic Circle, around the summer solstice in June, you get at least one full day where the sun never dips below the horizon. Go far enough north, to the very tip of Norway, to places like Nordkapp, and it isn't one day, it's more than 2 months. From mid-May to late July, the sun just circles the sky, round and round, never setting, a slow, bright carousel that doesn't stop. Now, your body runs on a clock, a real physical one, buried deep in your brain, a cluster of cells called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which keeps time for your entire body. It decides when you get sleepy, when your temperature drops, when your hormones rise and fall. And that clock has exactly one way of knowing what time it actually is out in the world. Light, hitting your eyes. When darkness falls, your eyes tell your brain, and your brain releases melatonin, the hormone that pulls you down into sleep. When light returns, melatonin shuts off and you wake. That's the whole system. It's elegant, it's ancient, and it evolved on a planet where every single day, without exception, the sun went down. The Arctic summer breaks that rule. There is no darkness to trigger the signal. The off switch never gets pressed. Your brain is standing there, waiting for a nightfall that is simply not coming. So what happens? Here's the strangest part, and it starts with the animals. There's a creature that solved this problem by giving up entirely. Scientists studying reindeer in the Arctic made a genuinely bizarre discovery. For large parts of the year, the reindeer's internal body clock appears to switch off. It just stops. In a place where day and night become meaningless for months at a time, keeping a 24-hour rhythm is pointless, so evolution seems to have quietly unplugged it. The reindeer eat when there's food and rest when they're tired, unbound from a clock that no longer means anything. They deleted the problem. Humans can't do that. Our clock doesn't switch off. So the people of the far north had to solve it another way, not with biology, but with culture. And what they built is, when you look closely, a kind of artificial night. They blacked out the light. Heavy curtains, blackout blinds, dark fabric over the windows. In Arctic summer, these aren't a luxury, they're survival gear. When the sky won't give you darkness, you manufacture it, one room at a time. Parents run rigid routines to convince a toddler's clock that it's bedtime while the sun blazes outside. Whole communities keep firm social rhythms. This is when we eat. This is when we stop. Precisely because the sky has stopped telling them. And even with all that, summer up there costs something. Studies of people living under the midnight sun find they tend to sleep a bit less in summer than in winter, take longer to drop off, and wake more easily. The body adapts, but it never fully stops noticing that the night has gone missing. These are people who have to work to sleep, in a way most of humanity never has. And here is the turn, the part that should make you sit up. Because you might be thinking, thank God I don't live there. Imagine having no real night. Imagine having to trick your own brain into sleeping. But you already do. Look around the room you're in right now. When the sun set tonight, did your world go dark? Of course it didn't. You flipped a switch and the light came back. You have a screen a few inches from your face throwing blue light, the exact wavelength your brain reads as midday, directly into your eyes, hours after sunset. Your ceiling lights, your phone, your TV, the glow of a dozen little devices. You have built, in your own bedroom, a small and permanent Arctic summer. A sky that never truly goes dark. The person in Nordcap fights the endless light for 2 months a year, knows they're doing it, and hangs blackout curtains to win. You fight it every single night, all year long, and you don't even know there's a fight. You call the result insomnia. You call it trouble winding down. You reach for a pill or a supplement, and you never once suspect the actual culprit is the same one the Arctic has openly battled for centuries. Too much light, too late, telling your ancient clock that the day isn't over yet. The people of the far north have something we've lost. Not an easier sky, a harder one. But they know their enemy. They can see the sun that won't set. They understand exactly why sleep is hard, and they've built a whole culture around defending the darkness. We destroyed our darkness so gradually and so cheaply that we forgot it was ever ours to lose. The Arctic has to reclaim the night for 2 months a year. Most of us haven't had a real one in decades.